Hey y'all, Professor Wyman here, and this is the second video in a series of videos on that first study that we're doing in class as an example. I'm using this to just introduce you to Jamovi and talk about descriptive statistics. I'm going to give you the output that I'm going to make. So what I'm doing right now, I'm going to export the results and make it a PDF, and then I'm going to have that printed out for you so that you can take a look at it. And then we'll start using Jamovi in about a week or two. So for this, I am in Jamovi, which is a data analysis program. It's free, which is fabulous. It also is built on R, so you can actually use R, which is a programming language for statistics. You can use that inside of Jamovi and kind of learn some R basics, which I think is helpful. So I wanted to introduce you to that. So this is an SPSS file. I need to save it, first of all. So I could go ahead and I'll save it as a Jamovi file. And I'm going to keep the same name, but as a Jamovi file, and Jamovi files have a .omv as their extension. Now, I have a lot of variables that Qualtrics created for me that I don't care about. I have the start date and the end date. I had you do this in class yesterday, so it's not something that that we need for anything. So I'm actually going to highlight these and I can delete them. They're not useful in any way to me. So I'm going to delete those variables. You'll do all of this in lecture and in lab, so don't worry about, I'm not going to show you how to do all of these things slowly. This is just to demonstrate what you can do. So I'm going to also delete IP address, the status of it. So this tells me that it was an IP address. It'll also tell you if there's spam responses, so you can filter those out. Again, we just did this in class, so it's pretty easy to see that everybody responded with IP addresses. I'm going to delete the actual IP address. I'm just right-clicking and deleting. We don't need that. This is a progress variable, and it shows 100% even if people didn't finish everything, but as long as they got to the end of the survey. So I honestly, the progress variable for me isn't always the best one, so I delete it. And there's other ways to filter out people who didn't complete things. We also have duration in seconds. I might leave that. I might just for fun see what, maybe durations in seconds. Maybe there's something going on there. This is a finished variable. I don't need that. That's the same thing as the progress. I'm going to delete that. I don't need this recorded date. It gives you all sorts of stuff. It's like, why are you giving me this? You're just making it all sorts of busy. We have a response ID. That isn't useful for our purposes, so I'm not gonna keep that, and I'm not gonna worry about explaining that at this point. I'm gonna delete these empty recipient email, location, latitude, longitude, distribution channel, because I gave you a QR code, so it tells me that that's what you used, and then user language was English, so that's the only option I gave. And now we're left with the variables we care about, right? So what I want to do is I first want to make sure that the people who are part of this survey consented to it. So I can actually double click on these variables. So each column is a variable. This is consent. I do not wish to participate was a 1. I consent to participate was a 2. I'm going to change my variable name to consent. And then because there's only 2 options here, it's not ordinal, this is nominal. So I'm just changing its level of measurement right here. Age, that should be continuous. We're going to leave it as is. So we have people's ages there. Gender, I need to change that. I'm going to change the name. And I also need to change this to nominal because gender is not ordered. There's no ordered categories. We are not sexist. We just have categories, right? Notice that prefer not to say is set to 99 because that's what I wanted it to be for missing. I'm actually going to click on this missing values and I'm going to add a missing value and say 99 equals missing. When I click out of that, look at that, it graded out for me. It's going to ignore that. So it's going to treat it as if it's missing information. And then we have this Q4 was year in school. So I'm going to say school, and I don't want to use any spaces for my variables. So I'm going to say it's school year, school underscore year. But look, they're coded that way as well. So freshman is 1, sophomore, junior, senior. This is ordinal. Senior has spent more time, has accumulated more units than a junior, for example. And then I'm going to put prefer not to say is going to be 99. So you're going to be going through this process in lab eventually and going through and cleaning your data the way that I am. This is a manipulation check. Kind of a manipulation. It's really to see if you agreed to not look up any information. So you might have looked it up anyway, but it's a way for me to check and see if I should keep your response. So I set it so that if they responded to anything other than I will not look anything up, it gave you a 0. And I'll explain why I did that. But for now, I'm going to change this to nominal because there's only 2 options, 0 or 1. Either you did say that you won't look anything up or you did not, which I made a 0 here. And we'll talk more about how that works. Oh, and we need to, it doesn't look like I have any 99s here. Oh no, I do. I prefer not to answer as a 0. Yeah, we're gonna leave that. Because I wanted to, again, if you said I will not look anything up, cool, that's good. That's a 1. You get a point for that basically. And if not, you get a 0. And moving along to our next one. So our next one here, Q5. This is just one of the response options. So these people in row 1 and 2, you can see that they were assigned, let's see if I can make this a little bigger. Nope. They were assigned the option of the birds of a feather flock together. So they were given the statement that social psychologists have found that people choose friends that are similar, and that's that birds of a feather flock together. What I did was I asked you to write about it. So I'm going to say explanation, and I'm going to say birds of a feather. So I'll just say birds, explanation birds. I'm actually not going to analyze this. This was basically a task. So I'm not actually going to use these responses. It was part of the manipulation to get you to think about, to explain why that might be the case once I told you that that was the situation. We'll talk about this in class, but basically we're going to talk about how people, when you tell something, tell somebody that something is true or that it's been found to be supported, sometimes we have this hindsight bias. We have a tendency to believe that we knew that, or that it makes sense, or that you knew it before you were told that. It's just another way for us to look at data, honestly. So that was the purpose of it. Okay, so then I asked you this, and this is what I care about. What I wanted to know is, do you find it surprising? And so the options are no, it's not surprising, yes, it is, or prefer not to say. I again want to do missing values where it's 99. So if you prefer not to answer, you get a 99. It's considered missing. If it's not surprising, that's a 0. And if it is surprising, that's a 1. The numbers don't really matter. I'm just coding the data here, but I want to give it a response that makes sense. So I'm going to say birds. And because the birds of the feather, I'm going to say birds underscore surprising. And I'm going to make this nominal because there's really only 2 options. There's not like a natural order to those 2 responses. Then we're going to do the same thing over here. Instead, this is going to be called explanation. Oops. Underscore opposites. So this is the opposites tracked option. And again, I'm not going to use this one for anything. What I care about is this. So you can see that this person right here responded to this one and not this one. That's because you were randomly assigned. Now, this, people tend to feel, oh, those are responses. So this for this one here, I'm going to make this, we're going to call this just like I did here. So this one was the bird surprising. I'm going to make this the opposite surprising. Now, I'm also going to make this nominal, and I'm also going to set my missing value to 99. Again, if you're watching this and you're like, what the hell is going on right now? I'm just demonstrating. You're going to walk through this in labs. So I'm not going to expect you to do this right away, just so that you know what to expect. And I'm just noticing somebody didn't do an explanation for it because they said, yes, it is surprising. So this person, we're going to look at that difference. How many people said no, it is surprising? How many people said yes, it is surprising? So there's some yeses in here, right? So now that we need to make this workable. I want one column with these surprises, whether or not it was surprising, and I also want one column that says what condition they were in. Were they in the birds condition or were they in the opposites tract? And so I'm going to do a little fancy transformation for that with the data. You'll do that eventually in lab in a couple of months. And so, again, you can fast forward or stop watching if you're not interested, but I'm just putting this in there. I just noticed somebody's code name was Mother of Turtled. Um, you were either talking to me about turtles or heard me talking about Mother of Turtles, Mother of Luna. I love this. This is great. Oh, Penguin McGoggleson, you guys are great. I love it. So these are your code names. If you're interested in knowing what your score is, I will make that available for you. Okay, I got distracted by the code names. So I'm going to create those columns. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a variable here. So I'm going to go to my data, and I'm going to add an insert, and I'm going to insert a transformed variable. And then for this, I'm going to say, I'm gonna basically debating. Maybe I won't show you the fancy way today. Maybe I will show you the concept way. I'll show you the fancy way later. So that way I don't want to overwhelm. I'm going to delete this one. Let me insert this I'm going to insert it as just a data variable. I'm going to keep this kind of simple. Okay, so the concept of this, and you'll learn the fancy way later. The concept is that I'm like, oh, you were in the birds condition, so I'm going to call that 1. This person was in the birds condition, so I'm going to call that 1. And then these people were in the opposites condition, so I'm going to say that's 2. And I can add a label here that says birds, and this one says opposites. Opposites. There we go. And so now it shows those. So we can see birds and opposites here. And I'm going to make this condition. That's the name of the variable. So then I could just keep going through and say, okay, this person was from the birds column. Oops. This person right here is in the opposites column. So I'm going to do 2, 1, 2, 2, 2. Again, there's a fancier way to do this that we would use if we had a lot more data. And if I just want to make sure that, again, I'm not throwing too much information in here. Opposites, birds, opposites, birds, 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 opposites, 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 birds, opposites, birds, opposites, opposites, birds, opposites, birds, opposites. And there we go. There's only 36 responses, so that's an easy one. So now I have this condition here, right? And then I'm going to insert another variable. So I'm going to add a variable. I'll do another data variable just so I'm not, again, overloading. And I want to say, I want yes surprising. I'll actually make that. I'm going to say this is our surprising. And we just want to combine those, put those responses here. So I'm going to say if they said no, that's a 0. I'm going to switch that. I'm going to make that no a 0. So no, this one says no, this one says yes, and I can do the same thing here. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say yes. So this is kind of a normal convention for when we have nominal variable, binary variables, which are like yes, no. This no, like none of that response would be a 0. So it just makes sense to put it together that way. We won't get super technical in this class yet. And then I'm going to I'll just go through and do the rest of them. So that's a no, 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 no. You seeing a pattern here? Lots of no surprising for two very different findings. No, no, yes, it is surprising. No, 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 yes, no, no, no. And I just go through, and this is a prefer not to answer. So I'm going to put a 99, and I'm going to make this add missing value, 99. And I'm going to say this one was a no, this one is a yes, this one is a no. We're almost there. Oh, we got them. Okay. So now we have the condition that you were in and whether or not you found it surprising. And we'll talk about those results in class. So if you miss class, I would definitely get notes from someone. Now, the last thing I'm going to do here, I want to create a total social loafing score. So I'm going to say social loafing 1. And you can see the question is there. That's a nice part of downloading it from Jamovi. I mean, sorry, from Qualtrics. And then here, I want to make this prefer not to say, that missing. I want to make that 99. And then this is social loafing 2, social loafing question 2. Missing is 99. And social loafing 3 and missing is 99. So when you do this, it'll take a bit longer. I am talking through it, but I'm used to doing this. This is something I'm pretty familiar with, so it's a little different. So you'll have multiple labs where you work on this together once you have your data. But you'll basically have you'll have conditions that you set up. You might have something like this where you add together multiple Likert type questions and create a score, which is what I'm going to do. You might be measuring reaction time. You could do all sorts of things. But ultimately, you're going to clean up your data with your TA's help. You can always go to office hours for help from me or for them. But again, we'll be working on getting you comfortable with Jamovi throughout the semester. So I'm just going through and doing the same thing. These are ordinal. When they're individual questions, they're ordinal. So I'm just going to leave that level of measurement there. But I'm just going through and adding these missing values and changing the name. So SL7. So I know that's social loafing 7. And then I'm going to insert a computed variable. I had to think about it for a minute. I'm going to create total social loafing. And I could add a description like total score on the social loafing scale. Now, if you didn't watch the video before, or if you've forgotten or blocked it out, whatever, I already reverse scored this question. So I helped my group complete the activities. I reversed it so that not at all true is 5. So you can see that not at all true 5, whereas this one, not at all true is 1. So I already reversed that, so I don't have to worry about it. So now for this, I'm literally just going to add these together. So I'm going to go to this little formula editor, and I'm going to click on it. And I could also type this in, but I'll double click. So double click on SL1. I'm going to say plus SL2 plus SL3 plus SL4 plus SL5 plus. There's other ways to do this too. I'm just showing you kind of the basic way. But look at that. It made a total score for us. Now, this person right here, they have a blank spot, and that is because Jamovi recognized that they responded prefer not to answer on one of them. So we can't get a total score there. The other option, something else you can do, you might do is like you could get the average of this. You get the average score. This scale, they add it together. The researchers that created it added it to create a total score. So you just really go with what the established scale was. So now we have these total scores. So this person scored an 8, which is on the lower side. And that means that they don't social loaf as much, right? They're low on the social loafing scale. And in fact, it looks like most people are pretty low on that scale, which is great, right? So we'll talk more about what these results mean. But that is how I cleaned the data. And then I'm going to end this video, and I have one more video in this collection of videos on our social loafing study and other study, social loafing and hindsight study. And in the next video, I'm just going to show how to analyze this data. So I'm going to end here, and let me know if you have any questions, and I will join you in the next video.